Today we are making a simple lemon peel cardigan. And I used just under 5 skeins of Bernat Softy cotton, which is a light 3-weight yarn with 60% cotton and 40% acrylic in the color Seaside Blue. And I will be using an H or 5mm Clover Amour crochet hook. And we will also need a yarn needle and some scissors. And we are going to make 5 separate pieces, 2 sleeves, 1 back panel, and 2 front panels. And we're going to start with the ribbing on one of the sleeves. For all of my ribbing, I used the front post and back post double crochet, but you can make ribbed rows working in the back loops only. The first thing we'll need is a slip knot, so hold your yarn with the tail end at the bottom of your hand, grab the top and wrap around 2 fingers to form an X, and use your hook to go under and over and pull your yarn through, remove your fingers, and tighten the knot. Now we can start chaining the length around our wrist. So to chain, yarn over and pull through. Again, yarn over and pull through. So we're going to chain until this length fits around our wrist, but we are going to make it a little bit longer so that our whole hand can fit through. And make sure that this is an even number of chains. And once we're done, we're going to chain 2 more because we are going to be working double crochets. I did a total of 28 chains, so now we can start double crocheting for our first round. And to double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the 3rd chain from your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, then yarn over and pull through your last 2 loops. And again, to double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And we're going to continue this all the way across. So here we have 26 total double crochets. We're going to chain 2 and turn. And for this row, we're going to do a pattern of front post double crochet, back post double crochet, then front, then back, then front again. And this will give it a ribbed look. And to do a front post double crochet, we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to go behind the post of our double crochet, and then yarn over, and we're going to pull that through, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Next is the back post double crochet, and we're going to yarn over, and we're going to insert our hook from the back and then cross over the post of the next double crochet, and then yarn over and pull through, and then we'll yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're going to start over the pattern with the front post double crochet. So again, we're just going to start the double crochet and insert it in from the front and complete our double crochet. And for the back post, we're going to start a double crochet, come in through the back, and then we're going to complete our double crochet again. And we're going to continue this pattern all the way across. And we should end on a back post double crochet. And now we can chain 2, turn, and start the 3rd row. And we're going to continue this pattern of front post, back post, front post, back post, all the way across again. And again, we should finish in back post only. And you can continue to make more rows if you want this cuff to be longer. But I am going to stop here and slip stitch the ends to form a circle. Each row will have a slip stitch, so I'm just going to have 3 slip stitches. So grabbing the other end and making sure not to twist it, I'm going to slip stitch this closed. into slip stitch, we're going to insert our hook under one small loop on this side, and then we'll go under the entire post on the other end. And then we'll yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. This is a slip stitch, and we're going to do 2 more. So again, we're going to go under a little loop on the side closest to us, and then use our hook to go under the entire post, yarn over, pull through again, and then we'll do that for the last row. And it should form the seam, and it'll be barely noticeable. And we could start working in the rounds for the rest of our sleeve. We're going to be doing the lemon peel stitch all around, and I'm not going to do any increases, so this first round is going to be the size for the entire sleeve. So I did need to measure my gauge for the lemon peel stitch, so I just made a slip knot and chained until I was a little over 4 inches. And then I did the lemon peel stitch, so in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do a single crochet. Into single crochet, insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, and then yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And then we're going to double crochet into the next chain, which we've already learned, but here it is again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through just 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. This cluster of 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet is called the lemon peel stitch. So for the next one, I'm going to do another single crochet. Again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through your 2 loops, and then double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So here's our second lemon peel, and I'm going to continue this pattern of single crochets and double crochets all across my foundation chain. And it turns out that my gauge is 9 lemon peels per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And with this information, I can figure out how many lemon peels I want in my sleeve. So I want my sleeves to be about 35 centimeters around, so I'm going to divide 35 by 10 and then multiply it by 9, and this will give me 31.5 lemon peels, but I'm going to round that to a full lemon peel, so 32, and this is how many lemon peels that I'll need to get a circumference of 35 centimeters in my sleeve. Your gauge may be different from mine. Maybe you have 10 lemon peels per 10 centimeters or 8, and you might want a different size sleeve. And you can do the same calculation, just make sure to not mix up your units. So I want a 35 centimeter sleeve, and I divided by 10 centimeters, not 4 inches. In order to get 32 lemon peels, since I have 26 total stitches, I'm going to do 1 lemon peel into every single stitch except for every 4th stitch. I'm going to do 2 lemon peels, and this will give me 32 total lemon peels. So this might be a little confusing at first, but bear with me. We're going to do our first lemon peel stitch into the first stitch of this round. So first we're going to chain 1 and do 1 lemon peel into the very first stitch. And then for the next one, we'll do 1 lemon peel again. And for the third one, we'll also do just 1 lemon peel. But for the 4th one, we're going to do 2 lemon peels. So first, in our 4th stitch, we're going to do our single crochet and double crochet. So that's 1 lemon peel, and then we'll go back into that same stitch and do another single crochet and another double crochet. And that's 2 lemon peels into our 4th stitch. And we're going to continue this pattern. So for our next 3 stitches, we're going to do just 1 lemon peel, and in the fourth we're going to do 2 lemon peels. And don't worry if your cuff looks different from mine, it should, because I was trying to test a different method of starting it, but I preferred the method that I showed you. Every round should end with a double crochet, a slip stitch, and then a chain 1. To slip stitch, insert your hook into the very first single crochet that you did this round. So there should be a little V at the top of the stitch. Go under it with your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn. I don't usually turn when I do rounds, but since we're working with the lemon peel stitch, we kind of need to, and it does keep the seam straight. And then we're going to single crochet on top of our double crochet from last round. And then in the next stitch, we're going to double crochet on top of the single crochet from last round. And there are no increases at all, so we're just going to do the lemon peel stitch all the way around. Once we get to the end, and it should end with a double crochet again, we're going to slip stitch, and again to slip stitch. Insert your hook under the V of the first single crochet of this round, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn to start round 3. And round 3 is the exact same as round 2. We're going to start with a single crochet, do our lemon peels, and end with a double crochet. Slip stitch, chain 1, turn. And we're just going to be building up our sleeve until we get the length that we want. And since this is a big project and I'm using multiple skeins, here is how you would go about attaching another ball of yarn. Whether it be a single crochet or double crochet, we're going to stop at 2 loops on our hook. So I am attaching my yarn on a double crochet. So now there are 2 loops left on our hook, and we're going to loop our new yarn onto our hook and pull through those 2 loops with our new yarn. And you want to make sure that the tail end that it leaves is also a few inches long at least. So if you were to do it with a single crochet, all you would do is insert your hook and pull up a loop, and that would already be 2 loops on your hook. So to finish your single crochet, loop your new yarn around your hook and pull through. And my sleeve ended up being about 7 inches or 19 centimeters wide. And I personally wanted sleeves that were a little short, so I did 60 total rounds, which ended up being about 40 centimeters or 15.5 inches long. And once we're finished with our sleeve, we can fasten off, but leave a tail end long enough for us to sew the sleeve onto the body. And to fasten off, after you slip stitch, chain 1, and then we're going to cut our yarn pretty long, and it's okay if you end up running out of yarn to sew your body. You can just attach on a new piece and continue sewing. It's a little hard to estimate, but I'm just going to do double the length from the top of my shoulder to the bottom of my cardigan. Now we can cut our yarn and use our hook to pull it through. Now we can start on the back panel. We're going to be doing a slip knot, which we learned earlier, but here it is again. We're going to hold our yarn with the tail end at the bottom of our hand, grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, and we're going to use our hook to go under and then over and pull through, remove our fingers, and then pull it tight. And we're going to start chaining the horizontal length that we want our back panel to be. So you want to chain an odd number, and for this part and the front panels, you can use your gauge to calculate however many stitches you want, but I did just estimate it by chaining, and then I stopped when the length of the chain reached from the end of one shoulder to the end of the other. And this is when I'm not stretching out the chain, I'm just holding it loosely. But just remember that it will tighten, so your chain will become shorter. So just chain a few extra, just to be safe. I ended up chaining 73 chains. So starting in our second chain from the hook, we're going to do a single crochet and then a double, and we're going to do the lemon peel all the way across on our chain. And we should end with a double crochet in our very last chain. If you did not, make sure that all of your stitches are correct, and if they are, then it must have been the number of chains that you did was actually even, so you can just remove your last chain. Now we can chain one and turn, and my chain one does not count as a single crochet. And then again, we're just going to do the lemon peel stitch all the way across. And once we get to the end of our second row with a double crochet, we're going to chain one, turn, and do row 3. And this is basically just a big rectangle that we're going to make for the back panel, and we're going to continue until we get the length that we want. And I finished the back at 60 rows. And my back panel came out to be about 38 centimeters or 15 inches long and 44 centimeters or 17.5 inches wide. And once we're done, we can fasten off by chaining one, cutting our yarn a few inches long, and then pulling through with our hook. And now we can start the front panels. Starting the exact same way we did with the back panel, we're going to make a slip knot, chain the width of the panel that we want, and you want this to also be an odd number. I did 31 chains, and you want to do the same number of rows as you made your back panel. So again, I did 60 rows, and mine came out to be about 19 centimeters or 7.5 inches wide, and the same as the back, 38 centimeters or 15 inches long. So this left a 6 centimeter or 2.5 inch gap between my front panels. And once we're done with our front panel, we can fasten off, but this time leave a long enough strand for you to sew the tops of the back and front panels together. And again, I'm just going to do double the length that I have to sew. Now just make an identical piece with a long enough tail end the same length, and we can start putting it together. Now we're done with our 5 pieces and we can start sewing it together. So since the tail end is on the left side, I'm going to flip my piece around so the back side is facing up, so we can sew it from right to left. And I like to use the whip stitch, and I'm going to be sewing with the right sides facing out. To do a whip stitch, go under the back loop of the bottom panel, and then go over and under the front loop of the top panel. And we're going to pull our yarn needle through and go over to the next stitch and go under the back loop of the bottom panel and over and under the front loop of the top panel. And we're going to continue this spiraling motion until we finish sewing the top of the shoulder. And once we're done sewing, we can tie a knot by using our needle to go under a loop, wrapping our yarn around it, and pulling through. And we can leave this loose end to weave in later. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other front panel. Since I did 31 chains for my front panel, I have 30 stitches. So from the left side of my back panel, I'm going to count over 30 stitches. And I'm going to mark my 30th stitch from the left with a bobby pin. And I'll get my yarn needle, thread the yarn through, and start whip stitching first into that stitch that I have my bobby pin in. Once we're done, we don't need to tie a knot with our needle. There's another loose end here that we can just double knot it with. Next, we're going to be sewing on the sleeves. And I usually like to have the seam where the slip stitches are facing down, but since you could barely see the seam, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to start attaching the sleeve from the bottom and attach the top of the sleeve to the top panel, and then go over behind the sleeve, connect that with the back panel, and then continue connecting the front panel with the back panel. The first thing you want to do is make sure that everything is laying flat. And then I'm going to go into the outer loop on the sleeve and go over and into just a little loop on the side of the front panel. And the smaller the piece of yarn that you go under is, the flatter the seam will be. So I'm just going to constantly go under just the outer loop on the sleeve and then into the side of the front panel. Here is how it's looking so far, and now we can transition to over the shoulder and just continue working along the back of the sleeve and connecting it with the back panel. And once we're done with the back, we can transition to sewing together the front and back panels. And once we're done sewing down the side, we can tie a double knot with the tail end that we left there earlier. And now we can do the exact same thing with the other sleeve. Make sure that everything is laying flat and it's even on both sides. And now that everything is sewn together, here's how it's looking, and we can start working on the ribbing. First, we'll do the ribbing on the bottom of the cardigan. So I'm going to turn the cardigan upside down, and then I'm going to attach my yarn on the left side. To attach your yarn, just insert your hook through the first stitch, and then pull your yarn all the way through, and tie a double knot. And then insert your hook back into that same stitch and pull up a loop. And then we're going to chain 2. And in that same stitch again, we're going to do a double crochet. And we're going to do double crochets all the way around until we reach the other side. Now we will be working into the bottom of our foundation chain. And instead of going into those same holes, I'm going to go in between 2 pieces of yarn just so that the holes are smaller. Once we reach the other side, we should have a total of 132 double crochets. And don't worry if your number is a little off, just make sure that it's even. If it's not, just add another double crochet into your last stitch. And now we're going to chain 2 and turn. And we're going to be doing the same ribbing that we did for our sleeve. We're going to do a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet, and start the pattern over again with a front post double crochet and then a back post double crochet. And I'm going to do this until I have 3 total rows. And once we're done, we can immediately start working on the ribbing along the front panels. So first, I'm going to turn my work, and then I'm going to chain 2. We're just going to line the sides of the front panels and a part of the back panel with double crochets, making sure to treat them like stitches and spacing them evenly. Once we get to where the front panel meets the back panel, we're going to do a double crochet 3 together to soften the corner. And to double crochet 3 together, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the side of the corner, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, insert our hook into the corner, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert our hook into the other side of the corner, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. And then we'll just continue double crocheting until we reach the other corner. And here we'll do another double crochet 3 together. So we're basically starting another double crochet before we finish pulling through the last 2 loops. So here we'll do 3 incomplete double crochets, and in the third one, after we've pulled through 2 loops, we're going to pull through all 4 loops. Then we'll just work our way down the other front panel. Once we get to the end, we'll chain 2, turn and start doing our front post and back post double crochets. I'm going to pause when I get to 1 stitch before that double crochet 3 together cluster. And I'm going to do a back post double crochet 3 together. And this is very similar to the double crochet 3 together. We're just going around the posts instead of into the stitches. And we're treating that cluster as just 1 stitch, so we're going around that whole cluster. And once I finish this corner, I'm going to do a front post into my next stitch and continue the pattern until I get to the next corner. And here I'll do a front post double crochet 3 together. And I only did a back post double crochet 3 together and now a front post double crochet 3 together because that's where it ended up. So you'll just want to continue your own pattern. And it may be slightly different from mine, but that's perfectly fine. And now I'll just work down the side of the front panel and complete my second row. So now I'm just going to do this for 1 more row and I'll be finished with the ribbing. Now that I'm finished with 3 total rows for my ribbing, I'm going to chain 1 and cut the yarn and pull it through with the hook to fasten off. And now we are very close to being finished. We just need to weave in all of our loose ends. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull all of the loose ends to the inside of the sweater so that I can weave them in on the inside and they'll be less visible. And here's how I like to weave in my loose ends. So first I want to make sure that it's double knotted, and I think I did that earlier, but if yours isn't, you can just use these 2 strands right next to each other to tie them in a double knot. And then I'm going to thread the yarn through the yarn needle, and I'll just go horizontally in one direction underneath some of the stitches. And then I'll pull my yarn through and turn around, skip 1 stitch, and go under those same stitches. This pulls the yarn in 2 different directions, so it's harder for it to come out. And if you do end up with a little extra yarn left, you can go back through those same stitches once more. But I do not, so I'm just going to cut off the excess. And I'll do that same thing for every single one of my loose ends. And now we are completely finished with this cardigan. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. Please leave a like and subscribe if you did, and comment below if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.